Hi, this is Nick Howley from the Houston Roughnecks, and this is the XFL Show.
More burger for the love of football. 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 Let's go.
If you smell what the XFL is cooking. Welcome, football fans. This is For the Love of Football. This is the road to 2022, and this is the XFL Show. I'm Alan.
And I'm Bryant.
Last week's news about a 2022 kickoff made us jump for joy, and we danced the night away in celebration. But now, everybody wants some more news, and we got it right now. This is episode 139, and we ain't talking about luck, Bryant. Well, we are. Oliver Luck in the news this week. We got to talk about it.
What did I miss in that intro? I'm missing something. It went completely over my head. I know I did.
It's very sad. Obviously, you are not a rock and roller, but we'll let that slide because we got a lot of work to do. Rest in peace, Eddie Van Halen, for sure. And we're paying tribute to him today. Bryant, the greatest guitar player to ever live, if you ask me. We will be rocking and rolling at XFL Show with you on social media forever and 100 years. Thanks for hitting us up. And, of course, the XFL Fan Line at 724-5654-XFL. And we are brought to you today by Pretty Easy Podcasts. You could go to prettyeasypodcast.com to start your own podcast where they help you put music to your voice and put your show together and make it sound good and go out to all the awesome platforms everyone listens to podcasts on. It's a really fun thing to do, podcasting. When you have someone helping you, oh my goodness, it takes a load off your shoulders, and you could get all that for a low rate at Pretty Easy Podcasts. And their saying is
making podcasting pretty easy.
Let's dink and dunk around the XFL news this
He can't
week.
make it. Let's don't kick it.
Hey, they said he couldn't make it, but he did. How about a 19-yard touchdown, Donald Parham, from Justin Herbert, the first XFL 2020-er, Bryant, to score a TD in the NFL this season. I freaked out. I watched that play live and was jumping for joy. I did not get 6 foot 8 inches high, though, as tall as Donald Parham.
I expected this moment to happen when we were in Houston for training camp. Like, we saw that happen. I told you this was going to happen. Donald Parham just needed the opportunity. That's what the XFL gave him. He just needed a game, one game, maybe even like, was it the first? It was the first quarter, second quarter, it was the first half. That's all he needed to get his first touchdown.
And it was a big one in a great game, a competitive game.
We didn't see his speed. Wait until he gets some room to run.
Yeah, that really gazelle. Oh yeah, if they would have got him in space, they definitely would have beat the Bucs, the Chargers. I for sure think more Parham, and they would have won that game. They stopped going to Parham, and Herbert fell apart against Tom Brady. But what are you going to do?
They just need to put Storm Norton in front of him, and then let Parham run behind him. They're good. They have it set up there in LA.
I think the Chargers would be winning more games if they utilize those guys a little bit more. But that was really cool to see, and it was awesome to see on XFL Twitter and on Reddit, just people kind of being like, "That's our guy. That's our guy." I love it. It's like a family seeing Donald Parham represent. That was cool. We do have some unfortunate news to talk about with regards to XFL 2020ers in the NFL. Jordan Ta'amu test positive for COVID-19 among the outbreaks with the New England Patriots, the Chiefs, Tennessee Titans in the NFL. Unfortunately, he fell victim to that, Bryant. So all of our best from the show to Jordan, who's battling this demon virus. That was the biggest, most unfortunate news for an XFLer to hear this past week.
Yeah, hopefully he gets better soon and he can get back out there and helping those Chiefs, who I think are they 4-0 right now?
Yeah, they're right. They haven't lost. They whooped on the Ravens. They whooped on New England. They're very good. And Ta'amu, I was saying last week, is a part of that. He was the Lamar Jackson dummy for their prep for that game. So he was contributing from the practice squad. We wish him a damn speedy recovery and no lingering effects, which we've heard about with this stupid virus. Some other bad news, XFLer 2020 in the NFL with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Tackle Jerron Jones was arrested for alleged assault last weekend. Needless to say, not going to be a part of the Pittsburgh Steelers moving forward for him, and that's something you don't want to see when someone like a former XFL player getting an opportunity. That's one way to blow it. So unfortunately, he is going to be kind of the poster boy for what not to do if you're an former XFL player currently on a practice squad in the NFL.
Well, what it tells you is the XFL is going to give you the opportunity. It's up to you to make the most of that opportunity. So
just like anything,
can't squander opportunities. Yes,
yeah,
the Rock now and company, Danny Garcia and them, they're going to give people opportunities. But they can't hold their hand the entire process. So,
exactly. So, keep your head screwed on tight. We know it's crazy, difficult times, and man, you hear different crazy news all the time. But so far, when it comes to the NFL season and stories like that, it has been, I would say, less often we're hearing that. Maybe it's just not making it to the news cycle as much, but we're not hearing about that kind of stuff. I say that's a good thing. Here's a good thing. The Fox Twitter, we love reading between the lines on social media. The Fox Twitter account, the XFL on Fox, which was an official network Twitter checkmarked that would tweet all the highlights when the XFL was on Fox. XFL no longer on Fox, but we see this Twitter account giving the old Jack Nicholson from Anger Management gif, Bryant, when the XFL puts their video out last week. Good news, I say. That shows you there's at least the social media guy at the network or girl is down for some more XFL at Fox, which we all want.
Well, we talked about it last week. Go back and listen about how down these networks might be for these TV deals. But I guess, yeah, read between the lines. It's excitement, whatever. At the end of the day, I think the XFL will bring a lot to some networks, whether it's Fox or not, whoever decides to move forward with them. But calm down too, Alan. And I know you like to say, yes, this is going to be the future now. We're going to be on Fox.
No, I wouldn't dare say that. But I do like how social media gets crazy over what another social media. I like whenever you're on like Reddit or on Twitter and someone says, so-and-so liked a tweet. Oh my goodness, that's news because they liked it or they retweeted it or something. Everybody wants to put the Leo DiCaprio in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood gif where he's pointing with the drink in his head. Oh, look, XFL on Fox retweeting. It doesn't really mean anything except the XFL on Fox was.
People don't know how to yearn for news with the XFL. I think that everyone forgot about 2018 and what that was like, especially as fans and podcasters who are here every single week.
We're here to re-educate. Yes.
We know how to relax and take every news, unless it comes from the league itself. And just relax.
But that's fun to see. It's at least someone there at Fox in the building recognizes it. But that's all it is.
Or at home. Hopefully they're not too,
don't get your panties in a bunch. It's not a big deal. Here's a question that at Wedge77 posed to a bunch of XFL people on Twitter, including us, Bryant, who said, do y'all think that teams will have their players return, those that can want to, or will they redraft the teams? I hope they keep as much of the original teams as possible. I will outright say total redraft, cannot go back to what was there before, Bryant. I feel like those contracts were all 1 year anyway. There wasn't anything that was going to carry over that we knew about with the rosters for certain. So I say you do that whole process again. And that's half me just wanting to be a part of the draft again and half me thinking they're going to want to start from scratch, and they are going to probably have to because all these players have moved on with their lives. They're not beholden to any of these teams. And there's nothing written that says the Seattle Dragons have the rights to Kenneth Farrow or the Dallas Renegades have the rights to Landry Jones. There's nothing in place for that kind of mechanism. So I think there will have to be a redraft.
Well, I will say that I think, to your point, I don't even know if you were to put a percentage on how many players that played in 2020 will be available to play in 2022.
That too.
that percentage is probably, 50 maybe around that range. I would say, most of them are not going to sit around and wait to play football again if they have other things to do and trying to move on with their lives, because adulthood hits real quick when you don't have football anymore. I don't mind if these teams get to hold on to their players, or some of them, or, get acquainted with some of these cities, because these players are familiar somewhat with, the cities, the buildings, the play, and anything like that. Even if some coaches return, I feel like you could leave some continuity there. You're right. There is nothing that says that these rights belong to this player. But the XFL is its own entity. It can make any rules it wants as it goes along.
That's true.
So if it says, hey, any player that was here needs to sign here, that's what we're going to do, because they're not individual team contracts. They're XFL contracts.
Yeah, the next people in charge of football operations and the roster management in this new iteration of the XFL can put in place something like that. We'll say, okay, here's how we're going to do it. When you reach out to such and such player, you will have the rights to first negotiate and try to bring them on, if that's how they're going to go about it, or you'll have the right to first draft them. Whatever process they're going to go through. But I don't know if I want to see that. I would like to see completely new rosters rebuilt. I think there's enough time for that too. So
don't get me wrong. If we're drafting the way we drafted last time, I'm all for it.
I really want to
I'll sit in a room anywhere
in
Connecticut, in LA, wherever you want me. And I'll sit there for 2 days and hear you draft. How many players was? I forget how many players it was.
700. I don't remember. It was a lot of players.
It was 80. Yeah, it was a lot of players. I'll sit there. I'll do it.
Also, I know people are going to say, well, you don't want to break up the Houston Roughnecks, and that would be something cool. I would like to see some of the players. What if it happened, but then players end up in other cities or on other teams, but together again? What if like PJ Walker falls back into the XFL, Cam Phillips is back in the XFL, but they're all of a sudden on the DC Defenders, Brian? Anything could happen, and I'm leaning towards something like that. I want to see brand new rosters in addition to a whole bunch of brand new stuff with the XFL. But ideally, we've talked about it, same teams, same cities, brand new rosters. I'm for, though, for sure. And we appreciate Wedge77 on Twitter, including us in that question posed to a bunch of people on XFL Twitter. And remember, you can hit us up at XFL Show on Twitter anytime, or Instagram, Facebook. We're mostly on Twitter. We like hanging out in the tweet world. And, of course, the XFL Fan Line. Text it. Standard text messaging rates do apply at 724-565-4XFL. I scrolled up for the number. I scrolled up for the number.
You forgot the number.
So many numbers I'm thinking about these days. I was measuring for suits. Got a wedding in a couple weeks. I got measuring neck 18, chest 45. I don't want to get into all the numbers, Brian, but we got a lot on my mind here. Mostly XFL, though, and some of it part of this week's cover, too, if you're ready.
Let's do it, man.
I will be coaching like a crazy man.
Crazy man, Winston Moss. I'm a crazy man because I'm reading about all these different groups popping up that are going to really, I think, change the sports landscape. We're going to get into one called the Altea Sports Partners Group a little bit later on during the Hot Read, Brian. But right now we got to talk about this new United Football Players Association group that was announced per Sportico this week, that they're going to be representing the interests of players who aren't in the NFL. So if you're not a member of the NFL Players Union, if you're not in the NFLPA, this is the group for you. Although this group that has now emerged, the United Football Players Association, is not a union. We must stress that. They will not be a union. XFL players, former XFL players, are already a part of this. Guys like Kenneth Farrow. Future XFL players might be a part of this group. And how it works is they're a 501c4 nonprofit, which means they're just basically an advocacy group. They're there to take the interests of these players who are not in the NFL but might play in other leagues like the XFL or an AAF. And they're there to make those leagues aware of the player concerns and player needs and what these players who are part of this group want. So they don't have the power of a union. They won't have the negotiation rights, the ability to strike. You have to be authorized, by the National Labor Review Board. So really, they don't have the power, but they are actually there, which is something that wasn't even there for players with the XFL in 2020 or the AAF. Guys who were left out high and dry by the AAF itself. And then when the XFL closed down because of COVID, also left out in the cold. Like you said, adulthood hitting them. And nothing like the UFPA to really lean on. This gives them at least something to lean on. Might not have a whole lot of power, but it's good to have people that you could go to. And this is what that organization is going to aim to do.
So if I understand this correctly, it's basically how do I put it? An advice group, right? If you have a problem, if you have a question, they're there to help you through whatever you need, to ask for the right things, to maybe speak on your behalf, but really not the power that unions have, which is striking, negotiating terms, all that stuff, long-term commitments. I understand the need for something like this, especially with what happened. Here come all the haters, but with what happened with the AAF, because they left players in cities, without going home. There was a player who quit his day job because he got a call to go play football.
Yeah.
And then got fired, basically, because. So I think because of what happened there, like the XFL paid their players through the end of the season, which is great. Did what they could to move to do right by those players. But at the end of the day, the situation was what it was. And if players need help and guidance through that, I guess that's what this is going to be.
Exactly. So, the AAF, you're left totally high and dry. This is crucial for that. But also with the XFL, even if you were paid, moving on from that, this kind of organization could be there to help you file for unemployment, seek an agent or something. They have all sorts of, they have resources, and then they can help you, guide you towards resources. And as a nonprofit, that's kind of all they can do. They can also speak to the league as well, send memos, send messages, send announcements via their player members. But without that National Labor Relations Board authorization to be a real union, they can't sit at the table and say, XFL, give these players more money. They'll advocate for more money and for better protections and stuff for the players. And that's kind of the first step, right, towards getting representation and a seat at the table for players, future players in the XFL, players in other football leagues. So as I'm a player advocate, I know players. I have friends that were ex-players in the NFL, and having an NFLPA type mechanism, having a UFPA, United Football Players Association mechanism, crucial for those people, for anybody. I'm always for labor, Bryant. That's me. If you know anything about me, I'm a labor guy. I want the labor, the guys who are working to be represented and have a shot at getting what they need and getting what they deserve. So this is cool to see, I think. And if you want to check out more, you can go to unitedplayers.org. If you're a player watching there, listening to the show right now, check it out. That popped up this week, definitely on our radar. We'll be looking to get maybe some member players on the show to talk about it some more, and also, of course, talk about what they're hoping for the XFL in 2022. And we'll get into another organization coming up, like I said, Altea Sports Partners, in a different realm, but also in the business side of what the XFL and football in general are going to be seeing over the coming years. But part two of our cover two here, Bryant, super hyped for this. We've teased it a little bit. We've got some more info. Read this in the San Francisco Chronicle. Fox Sports, multi-year agreement to televise the Spring League. And that fall season begins in just a few weeks, October 27th. So get ready. Tuesday and Wednesday night football on Fox Sports 1. The Spring League is back in the fall.
We talked about this. They were bringing a kind of just like some football to this fall because of the hole that football was supposed to have without college and without the NFL. But those voids are still there, so they never really went away. But I guess more so we could talk about the actual contract.
Yeah.
That they actually are getting on television. Because I think before we had to stream them, right? We had to stream it.
Yeah, I don't even think you could watch it live. I remember, at least with the XFL's dealings with
that
the
was your
Spring
call
League.
football that we got to stream.
Your call was streamed. Spring League, I don't think was ever at least available when the XFL was, there doing testing. That was behind closed doors. That was locked down. This is going to be on TV on Tuesday and Wednesday nights. Now, the MAC is coming back, so there will be Tuesday night MACtion for football fans again. But we're going to get more football in the middle of the week. That's awesome. 12-game format, 4 weeks of football in San Antonio. There will be 6 different teams. And, I mean, we are, because of how we've followed the XFL right now, we know so many people who love the scouting end of this sport will be glued to these games, taking notes on who could be future XFL talent, who will be a talent in the NFL. This is great. I'm excited for it, and it's in just a few weeks on cable.
Well, the spring league's structure, right? They charge the players to actually be a part of this, right? They make the players pay like a fee to be on these teams. At least that's what it was last time around. I remember that, doing some research on it, but it's more football. And if Fox Sports 1 is going to, get the rights to this, and I don't know what the deal is or whatever that may be, but this bleeds hope for the XFL to get a prominent deal as well, because it's just obvious that people want live sports on their networks at some point throughout. There's not going to be any hockey or basketball for a few months after this week. So people are going to need to fill, like NBC is going to need to fill that void at some point with something. You'll see some weird stuff, I'm sure, on NBC Sports. You'll see some weird stuff on NBC.
Weird stuff,
what's
AKA
ABC, ESPN
soccer.
Gonna do?
Weird stuff, AKA soccer.
Why is it ball round, and where are the sticks? It just shows that leagues like the XFL have an opportunity to take advantage of the network's needs for live sports year round.
Yeah, it's a good sign. If you're the Rock, Danny Garcia, Redbird Capital, you see the Spring League, and not like the Spring League has done great business, I think, over the last few years. They've really, elevated themselves within the football community, gained a lot of respect, especially with their work with the XFL, and now they get this awesome deal with FS1. I mean, I don't know how awesome it is business-wise for them, but the exposure's cool.
Exposure, yeah.
And then you see, okay, they're at least putting this on TV from the business end of the XFL. It's not quite like, oh yeah, we got them where we want them in terms of the TV deal, but it's a great sign that football is definitely something these networks are like, yeah, we need, gimme. So the XFL, I think that's something they'll keep their eye on too, and be watching, not just for player purposes, business purposes. This is something you have to keep your eye on if you're following the XFL's business side in addition to the football side.
What's the CEO for Disney?
Bob Iger.
Bob, you think Bob Iger's like, give me, I want the football. Just give me the football.
Give me the football. Disney Plus. We need sports on Disney Plus. Why? It bundles with ESPN. I don't get it. No, I don't think that'll happen. All right. That's great news, though. I'm excited. We'll probably be talking about those games on this show. They start October 27th, Brian. Super hyped for that. Now, are you ready to learn about name, image, and likeness in college athletics?
What's the NIL, right?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, shortened NIL, if you want to be cool and talk about it. Sound real businessman-like, or if you're ready. If you're ready to talk business. Yes. Let's do it in this week's Hot Read. Name, image, and likeness. Very important words, because they're about to change college sports, especially college football. NIL in college is about to be big bucks. And Oliver Luck, of all people, will be involved when this comes to fruition. So now colleges are going to have to start letting players make some money on their name, their image, and their likeness. Colleges are going to have to start, letting these players get what's theirs. They prop these colleges up to make millions and millions of dollars. You've heard the talk all of millions of years, it feels like, since the dawn of man. College players, they should be paid. They're the ones on names on the marquee. They're the ones ESPN selling for people to watch the game when Clemson takes on Alabama. All these stars, oh my God. Well, NIL is now about to be business, and there are going to be very strict rules colleges are going to have to abide by when it comes to their players getting this money and getting these endorsements and going into this new world where money is going to be legitimate when it goes to players now. There won't be too many more there'll be bagmen still.
$20,000 an hour at a car wash? No way. I need
there
that
will
job.
be less bagmen, and they won't have to pretend to have been a used car salesman during their college tenure or whatever. And with all this new business and new regulations, new rules in college sports, there's gonna need to be someone keeping track of all this. And people like Casey Schwab, who is the CEO of Altea Sports Partners, Bryant, and is taking a big advantage of this with his group, because they're going to be consultants to universities and already have deals in place with schools like LSU and Texas. I mean, really tough to get bigger than those two schools in the world of college football, especially. And the schools are going to pay Alteus to consult and help them navigate the new murky waters of NIL with their players. So they're going to give their expertise to make sure there's compliance between the coaches, the bagmen, or the boosters, as that you're supposed to call them, and the athletes themselves. And a part of Altea Sports Partners are some advisors to Casey Schwab and his team. And among those advisors, Oliver Luck and Urban Meyer, of all people, Bryant. So big names advising this group. Oliver Luck's athletic department head of, he was an AD. His experience will especially help them with dealing with LSU's athletic department, Texas's athletic department, their other clients. And what we're concerned with here on this show is first, two questions. Does this new world in college athletics and this new gig for Oliver Luck, does that mean he's definitely no way, no how going to be involved in the XFL in 2022?
You want me to answer that now?
Let's answer that question first. I mean, he's just an advisor, so technically his time, I'm sure, will be available.
At this point.
And we're just speculating here.
We're just speculating. Oliver Luck, a great friend of the show, I consider him. We had him on many times during the lead up to 2020 and beyond. If you think Oliver Luck is coming back before this, I would say you're misguided. And now that this is out, as Oliver Luck, I'll do this two parts. If I'm Oliver Luck, why do I want to be a part of this based on what's going on outside of the XFL? And two, if I'm the XFL, do I need Oliver Luck? And that is because what's the approach I'm taking for this season? Oliver Luck, phenomenal job. Oliver Luck and company, phenomenal job. But do we need to reimagine football if they already did that? That's the question. Now, what is it you need from a commissioner and a team and a staff? What do you need from them? And is it what Oliver Luck provides?
Yeah, it could be a different type of job description, and maybe Oliver Luck, as qualified he is for virtually any kind of management position, maybe you want someone with a little bit different temperament or background.
And Oliver Luck was the perfect fit, and he has
at that time, yeah.
He has a reputation of being able to bring up leagues and startups and do these great things for football and for sports in general, for cities like Houston, all that. But maybe at this point the XFL goes a different direction, not because of Oliver Luck and what he did, but just because they need a different perspective. I said last week, football was great. The game was great. It worked. So now you go in a different direction. You go more of a business angle. You say, how do we market to these teams, to these markets better? How do we make expose ourselves so that way we get more fans in the stands, right? The football was number one. Great. It worked. Awesome. Now we need to get butts in seats. And then you bring a commissioner in who specializes in that.
Maybe a showman, you're saying. I'm
just saying, outside the box. I don't think Oliver Luck's coming back, regardless of whatever the situation may be. Yeah. I don't think he wants anything to do with it. I don't think the XFL really thinks that they should be bringing him back anyway. That's just my personal opinion. But that was before this all happened.
Before this news about Oliver Luck being an advisor to Altea Sports Partners, my percentage was really low for a return anyway. I would hope for one. I'm a huge fan of Oliver Luck. Everything he did with the XFL is phenomenal. I think bringing him back would be a home run. But going into this is going to be huge business, this NIL stuff, and him being involved in some sort of way, just even in this, what sounds like an advisor role, so probably not a major part of his day, but still something he's thinking about and has expertise on. This is going to blow up, and I could see him getting even more involved, especially when it comes to, it's the college game, which is his bread and butter. So, yeah, I think when it comes to Oliver Luck with this news, it might even lower that percentage for a return. Now let's ask question number 2, though. With this news and an entity like Altea Sports Partners emerging with this future of NIL creeping on all of us here in the college game. Does this shut the door that Kenny Robinson walked through? Because with name, image, likeness, and athletes now going to be able to get some compensation while in college, and big money being thrown at making sure it's all done correctly and on the level, does this mean that there's no more incentive for someone to maybe take that route that he took, that we all thought, oh, that might be something a lot of players do in the future, jump to the XFL because you don't have to worry about the money and being taken advantage of, some would say. A lot would say. And with this now, do you think maybe a college player will just be like, well, if I'm good enough in college, I could get some sort of endorsement or get paid somehow while I'm here and get my education? Or is it that this NIL stuff is really going to just be for the upper echelon in the college game, and guys like Kenny Robinson, who probably weren't, they're not on like the level of a Trevor Lawrence, so maybe guys like that still will be like, oh, I want to go to the XFL because I'm not going to have to beg, borrow, and steal on social media and get my name out there and market myself and play well. I could just go make money playing football. Is that still a door guys might want to walk through, even now that money is going to be available to them in college?
Okay, so I think one thing that always kind of gets missed in all this is the percentage of players in college that could play in the XFL. And I think that percentage is low. I mean, these are non-developed human bodies, right? You're talking about, a 19-year-old, a 20-year-old is not going to be able to compete with a 35 or 32 or 28-year-old because these are just, grown adults. So that already limits the players that you have available. Alan, I'll do this here. Just kind of watch me what I'm doing here. If you're on YouTube, you can see what I'm doing here. If this is round 1 of the draft and this is round 7, where do I stop where players stop getting NIL? Like right around 2, 3, maybe? You think players in 4, 5, 6, and 7 are going to be getting significant money?
No, significant is the word you got to throw out there for sure. Because who knows? Do they bring this college football game back one day? Everybody will get at least a little something. Probably like $50. I don't know how much these guys. If your name's just in the game, do you get the same amount as a Heisman Trophy winner just because you're both in the game? I don't know. Who knows how that's going to work? But you're right. There are levels. I think you're right, and it's going to be hit. There are going to be guys though who are going to use their status, and are they going to be allowed to? Like, what if some kicker this happened in the CFL, has a Twitch channel and makes bank off his Twitch channel, and everybody knows, oh, that's the kicker for Alabama. He's got a sick Twitch channel, bro, and let's give him some money and watch him play Fortnite or whatever. And is he going to be allowed to do that even? Will that be a part of the regulations? And if he is that going to be lucrative enough to just say, I'm going to play Twitch and finish college? I'm not going to the XFL.
Every case is going to be different and separate. It's just, you don't know.
The bulk of them, I would say, though, are going to be like first, second round type talent whose names are big and always talked about on, ESPN and whatnot, for sure.
Well, you also got to trade off, in the XFL right now, the way the current, structure is 10 games, 12 if you win a championship. If you're an offensive lineman that's going to go in the 5th, 6th round, why not go get paid? You see these offensive linemen get trampled from behind every game. There's 2 or 3 of them that go down every game. legs get torn up, God knows what happens. Why not go get paid in the XFL? If you're not making any money, because nobody ever cares about offensive linemen, especially even in the NFL, no one cares about an offensive lineman. I do. I know you do. And I do care about Sam Schwartzstein. Much love. But let's be real. People don't really care about offensive linemen. How much money are they really going to give an offensive lineman for his name, likeness, and whatever? What's the other one?
Name, image, likeness.
Likeness.
Yeah. I mean, that's
it's so go play 10 games, get paid in the XFL, and then get drafted in the NFL in the 6th round.
Yeah. Or I feel like these schools might even come up with programs, though. Like, if you win the starting center job at LSU, they might end up, it could be like a tradition. You win that job, you're going to be able to get the deal that the school has with walk-ons, the bar in Baton Rouge that everyone goes to, and the center is always going to be on the menu there, and they're going to call it whatever his name is.
It's so shady though, because like, what if you say, "Hey, if you come to my school, you'll always win that award every season"?
Yeah, it's another way to recruit. It's changing the game, and that's what it's all about.
So shady.
That's not shady, because this is now all on the up. This is all on the surface. This happens already, Bryant. This happens here. You want to do this stuff if you're watching on YouTube, here's the surface. Right now, all this stuff's happening here. Now, you can't get your name on the menu at walk-ons, because then they'll know. But now you can, and it's known, and it's legal, and it's agreed upon, and you just make a decision when you're recruited. Is that what I want to be a part of? But then you also will forever know that, okay, I wasn't recruited big time in college. I'm at a small school. I'm not going to get any NIL money here playing at Troy. But you know what? I have a shot to go to the XFL. I still think, even with this new world of college athletics, the Kenny Robinson route, the options the XFL will provide to players, either as a first chance or second chance, will be lucrative still. And hopefully the money will be better than it was even for XFL 2020 players. That could be a big factor too.
Well, Kenny Robinson, let's be real, opened this door because every other door around him was shutting. So he had to go through this.
This was his last resort.
This is going to be So this is going to be an opportunity for those players that don't have any other opportunities to go play some football still. Now, whether or not other players behind them follow suit, it's going to take a while to understand how this name, image, likeness actually takes place, and how much players are going to get paid. And if Trevor Lawrence gets $5 million and everyone else is getting $100 a week because of this, that's not really fixing anything, is it? So we'll have to see what's actually going to happen going forward.
Yep, and we'll see what the involvement of a guy like Oliver Luck and Urban Meyer will be, and what they're going to advocate for. I don't know if I'm for this Altea Sports Partners group yet. Who knows what they're going to be really advising these universities? Obviously, if the universities are hiring them, they're going to be looking to cover the universities' butts, and not so much the athletes. We'll see how that works, the relationship too moving forward. But that's a whole nother sports talk radio, sports business radio conversation. We want to talk about it in relation to the XFL for sure, and we'll keep our eye on it, and it's something to be aware of, but interesting nonetheless. And I like this brave new world we're going into with college athletics and NIL. The more I read about it, it's going to be fascinating, and it's really going to, I think, be fun. I think it could be a lot of fun with the different things you're seeing about endorsements and how schools will approach it. So just stay tuned with that.
I will, Alan. I'll have to revert back to you, because I don't know how much of this I'm actually going to understand going forward. A question, Alan.
You bring a good perspective on it, though, when we talk about this stuff that I kind of nerd out on, listening to way too many sports business podcasts.
Alan, are you going to do a week countdown? I guess we can't really do it until we have official kickoff date, huh? When you do the weeks countdown. No, see,
you aren't remembering 2018. Before we knew February, we were just saying 2020 is on the way for a while. But once we know the day, we'll have that official countdown, and you could keep your digital clock there ticking in the office.
All righty. Well, that's.
I'll wait.
I guess we'll get that at some point. What?
Yes. No, I'm just trying to throw out another Van Halen reference there, just to get. I'm trying to get in as many, before we're done here with the show. But we're about done, Brian, unless you got anything else to tell all the football people.
No, I think this show finally erupted. It's an eruption. Yes. Call me the ice cream man, by the way. Never do that. This is the XFL show. Follow us on social media at XFL show. That's Instagram and Twitter. We put the show on Instagram every single week. Follow the show on YouTube, youtube.com/this is the XFL show, the official YouTube channel of the XFL. And follow us every single week. Subscribe. Tell your friends about us. 5 stars. 5 stars.
Yes,
Apple
on
Podcasts,
Apple
Spotify,
Podcasts.
Google, wherever.
Leave those comments.
Stitcher.
People
Tune in.
use Stitcher sometimes. Tune in, we're there. And you can leave those comments on whatever, the YouTube section. You could, of course, hit us up on Twitter, like Brian said, at XFL Show. It's my favorite place to live, even though it was hard to find some football stuff the last 24 hours. All I saw were people talking about flies. But that's a whole nother...
Hey, look, the fly was on fire.
Fly was on fire. It was. No, it was on fire! And that is it for this week's show, everybody. Thank you for watching or listening, and we'll see you next week. For Bryant, I'm Alan. This is the XFL Show. Remember, they're listening.